love that guy. All right, guys, now let's move on to the next part of Pursuit of Success. And we have on the line the one and only from the humble penny, Ken Okoarofo. Good morning, brother.
Good morning.
Hey, how are we doing, champion?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm very well, very well. I know sometimes like when we connect on the phone, I could feel like the kind of step back, to my good morning sometimes, because it's a bit like, hi, but it's a pleasure to have you back on the show with us today.
No, I'm excited to be here, man.
Oh, look, listen, last week you literally dropped some bombs. Like, we just wanted to know how things were going with you in the lockdown, but in between that, you were just like literally throwing golden bars at our heads. it's like wake up, wake up, and I was rewatching that show and I was like, yeah, what you share with us prompts us to action. It prompts us to action, and that's and so if that's what your intention is, then definitely you've achieved it. Yeah. So just kind of going straight into the story, because we've had so many different things happening this morning. If you didn't know already, Ken is from the Humble Penny. This gentleman, he's got his PhD qualifications. He's been in finance. He's been in investments. He's started businesses. He's made businesses run. But I came into it where he started this online channel called the Humble Penny, where he gives tools to achieve financial. I'll use the word financial independence, isn't it, Ken? Yeah,
that's right.
Most people are familiar with the term financial freedom, but you use the term financial independence. And he shares with us things like finishing your mortgage in like 7 years. You don't have to do the whole 24 years. He shares things like, which is better to do, invest right now where you are or pay off your mortgage. He shares things like side hustles you can do, all different kind of things to do with financial discipline, financial knowledge for us to make some really good choices. So absolutely amazing, Ken. Literally. Yeah.
No, that's kind of you. Thank you.
So tell us, Ken, just so that we can kind of jump straight in there. Okay. Last week you were speaking to us about the lockdown, as we said earlier. And not everybody took the lockdown so well. We heard about many businesses shutting down. Many businesses went into hibernation, organizations. However, there were those who we hear about on the Breakfast Show that kind of thrived. They were challenged, but they thrived. And you were faced with the same challenges as everybody else. You had committed to start this organization. What was it? Financial freedom? Sorry.
Financial Joy Academy.
That's it. And what was it? You wanted to make 10,000 families to lead them into financial independence.
Yeah, so that's our core mission this decade. So it's a huge mission for us, something we're deeply passionate about, and something we see as an enabler for a lot of communities. We believe that if you can teach a family to empower themselves, then they can go ahead and empower their own families and empower their communities. So this mission is a huge one. We didn't know anyone else who has that mission, and we are essentially sharing what we've learned so far to help families gain the knowledge, the skill set, the mindset, and the tool set to achieve financial independence.
Fantastic. We had Selena Green. Selena Green has been pursuing me this whole week. So I know that we're going to fire some questions later on. But what I wanted to ask you is this. So you had this goal during the lockdown, when the lockdown hit. Okay, the pandemic was happening, to enable 10,000 families to lead them into financial independence, right? So you had people that were looking at you. You had your family to deal with. You had your projects that you needed to work, but this hit. And last time you spoke to us, you said that it brought some challenges, but there was also some great outcomes that came with it. You was okay because you spent 10 years organizing your financial situation. 10 years, a decade. You and your wife and your family did that. So you wasn't worried about money. But what challenges did you guys have?
Okay, so there were quite a number. So I'd say the first challenge we had was starting around February 2020 was the challenge of overwhelm. So overwhelm with running a business full time, because I'd quit my job and was now running the humble penny full time with my wife. And so that challenge of the overwhelm and trying to make the platform, the business, sustainable and generate an income and stay profitable and so on. That was the key. That was one challenge that we faced at that time.
You know, Ken, you strike me as a numbers person. You look at numbers, you look at figures, right? Intricately, right?
Yeah, I can say that.
You're so humble. Okay. So you just left your job. You left your secure job, and wasn't the temptation to just jump back to where you left? Didn't you feel that need?
No, because as you mentioned earlier, we were first of all been working towards this position, so it wasn't an accident just leaving my job. It was more of it was part of an organized plan eventually. I knew it would happen, but I didn't know when exactly it would happen. It was more of creating an option for it to happen. And so when the opportunity came, with so much going on, many challenges really, homeschooling and working from home, and staying at home and all the other stuff that there's so many things changing. It felt like the right opportunity. I saw a much bigger, almost chance to have impact in my life and in the world than I did through my day job. So for me, it was really a case of, do I believe this is the right time? And if so, yes, this is time to have a go and see where this goes. And so that became the next thing. Yeah. Okay.
So overwhelm. So it's like, I can imagine that leaving your job, you actually had a plan, right? You had a plan. Okay, so we can go like this, we can go like that, we can go like that. Recession hits, and first things first, the help that you had, which I think you had someone to help in the home, that wasn't there anymore because everybody has to isolate. Probably the contacts that you had, they're doing different patterns right now, working patterns, right? I mean, how did you cope with all that kind of change?
It required a different mindset and thinking to kind of deal with that. That didn't come to me straight away. It didn't come overnight. But on reflection, how I overcame that challenge was that we gradually started to hire a team, and I'll speak to you about what the mindset behind that is in a second. So we started by asking ourselves, by realizing we're doing too much by ourselves, so we needed some help. And obviously, to get some help, you need some money in order to find the right types of people. So it became a question of trying to reinvest some of what we had generated through our business and hiring some people on a freelance basis with the core goal of, I've got this acronym in my head, the ESDA acronym, which is to eliminate, systematize, delegate, and automate. That was the core goal that we wanted to achieve by doing this, which is to essentially take work off us, where we could eliminate stuff by eliminate stuff work entirely, we would. Where we could systemize stuff by introducing some technology, we would. Where we could delegate to a freelancer, we would. Where we could automate stuff, we would. And so that was how we overcame that one challenge. And that took some time. That didn't happen overnight. But the mindset behind it was get help and don't operate alone. A lot of people don't progress in life because they think they have to do everything themselves. But the much more fruitful mindset is to actually realize that it's not your job to do everything. It's actually your job to allocate resources. That's your key job, is to distribute and allocate resources effectively. And if you do that, then your whole operation can function, provided you're majoring in what you need to major in. In my case, where I needed to spend my time was in the visionary aspect of what we were doing.
Oh my gosh, already there's a powerful nugget there, guys. All right, so what was that? So that acronym was ESDA, eliminate. So the things that you don't need to do, right? I think that's, is that like the 80-20 rule?
Just get rid of stuff that's not adding value. So what's moving the needle the most? You want to focus on that, on things that you're wasting your time on. So, for example, some people waste their time on social media, posting things that might not be fruitful, or they might waste their time on so many different social media platforms when they might just need to focus on one or two, for example, for marketing their businesses. So elimination means write down all your tasks that you spend all your time doing. Which of those do you need to just put a red line through? That's elimination.
Okay, and so you've done that, and obviously you sat down with your wife to do that. I know you two are dynamic, and obviously systematize. I love the sound of that, because the moment systems come into it, for some reason the pressure feels a bit more alleviated. Yeah. So systematize. What kind of things did you systematize? What did you do?
Things such as our accounting, things such as processing transactions, so introducing like an automation to do stuff for us. So, for example, a piece of technology that took away some mundane daily tasks. So, for example, it would say, if you spend your time doing X, Y, or Z tasks, could you get a piece of technology that will help you essentially do that in an automated fashion? So, say, for example, you ran a cake business and you knew that whenever people called you, you would take down their name, their email address and phone number, but then you'd spend a lot of time typing that in. The way of systematizing that could be to create an automated capture form. And then we use a piece of technology called Zapier. Zapier will take that information and store it in a specific place, or use it to create an automated email that goes out to that person at a future date. So it's about finding pieces of technology that are quite affordable. You pay maybe like £10 a month or something, but that piece of technology does the work of taking away certain bits of work from you that you might ordinarily just do on a manual basis.
And then the next thing we had Delegate. Now, something that you also touched on was obviously we noted. Obviously, you said that it's not your job to do everything alone, but to literally be able to distribute and manage things properly, right? And so delegating was keys. So obviously, I'm someone I don't like to lose control of what's going on.
Yeah, I hear you.
And so that is, if you're similar, that must be a fearful thing. Yeah, it might sound fearful, might sound like a very strong word, but I think that's the only way I could probably use to describe it. How did you deal with that?
Yeah, because it's a common thing to have control, because it's all you've been used to, doing your own thing. But another way of seeing that is, imagine you've got a specific task you've got to do. Writing down literally what steps it takes to do it is possibly one of the best things you can do. If it takes 10 steps, you write down the 10 steps. Then the question then becomes, who can you find to follow those 10 steps as best they can to achieve that thing? And obviously you have to trust that person, after they've been with you for some time within maybe your operation or your business. They can get used to your culture and how you like doing things. But then the question then becomes about having that process for them to follow, and have a reporting, a way in which they can report back to you once that thing has been completed on an ongoing basis. This is how you then start to you move away from being a control freak almost, and start to allow or trust somebody else to take that particular thing and run with it.
Fantastic. So once you've got this set up, the ESDA set up, so obviously did it mature straight away? Were there some kinks and bumps in the process?
Oh yeah, initially things look a complete mess, because you don't really know if it's working, and plus it's costing you money, because you've got someone helping you maybe and stuff like that. But it takes a while, and over time the outcome really for me was that I felt less stress, and we saw more income grow. We saw more income come into our business, into our operation, because I was spending more of my time doing the things that I thought added the most value, and other people were spending time also doing bits that they needed to do in order to keep what we were doing kind of operating and moving forward.
Yeah, and it brings it back to that scripture about giving and receiving, right? So literally sometimes we want to kind of hold on to what we're doing. We want to kind of hold on to any situation that we're going through or any circumstance. We don't want to let go. But what you did is you literally trusted people, and it was an investment, right? Because some people are afraid to give because it might involve a financial investment. But with you and your wife, you both knew where you wanted to go with this. So even though things were a bit fuzzy in the beginning, like any construction, you was ready to just kind of see it through and give it that time for things to kind of merge into place and become more fluid.
Yeah, and I think it's really important what you said there about the investment, because an investment requires a return. And most people don't have that ROI mindset, which is a return on investment mindset. Most people see money leaving their bank account as an expense, like they're paying for their Netflix bill, when in actual fact, if you saw that money you're putting out as something that's bearing you a return, and that return doesn't have to be a monetary return, it could just be your peace of mind, it could just be less stress, it could just be more security. So you can almost measure the return you're getting back from the money you're expending from your bank account, from your business, or from your business, for example, then that starts to really change your mindset around what your expectations should be when you spend money.
Absolutely fantastic. All right, so besides the overwhelm, what other challenges did you face?
A big one, there were two others I had here. I'll just read them out to you real quick. So the first one I had, second one was almost a lack of structure with so much going on. So, and the way I overcame that was just to stick to doing 3 things a day maximum. That was it. Okay. So every day I'd write down 3 things. We call it our daily big 3. And that's it. It's just 3 things a day, nothing more than that. What that gave me almost compartmentalized my work, my to-do list, and I would add nothing more to that to-do list. Only 3 things. My wife will have 3 things. I'll have 3 things. Wow. The mindset behind that is to focus on what moves the needle the most, i.e., what's most impactful for what you are trying to achieve, because then that helps you just stop focusing on the wrong things. And what that helped me to achieve was more productivity, basically. I became a lot more productive because I focused on the right things. And the third challenge I'd mentioned was a mental health one, which is around anxiety and fear tied to this whole season we've been in, because we've all lived through a very unusual time, and we're still doing that in many ways. Not knowing where we're going, having control taken away from our lives, having freedoms taken away from our lives, not knowing what's coming, and that caused a lot of kind of mental health related issues from an anxiety and fear perspective. I'd say the things that have helped me in that period relating to that were exercise. Exercise helped a lot. And by that I mean just going for a walk or going for a run. And then the other 2 things were prayer and friendships. So those were very important aspects of kind of what I focused on, really. Kind of going back, I was thinking the mindset behind those 3 things, exercise, prayer, and friendships, is going back to foundational things, just going back to the kind of core foundation of things that we often just ignore. But going back to those foundational things just helped me have more, the outcome was I had more peace, essentially. Wow,
fantastic. And so obviously with that peace, when it's time to go to work, you can work with a clear head, right? Because there's nothing more, peace is fundamental, isn't it? And sometimes we can put that to the back burner and try to do so many different things, but we're slowly deteriorating because we lack that peace and that harmony that we actually essentially need, to function. So that was really, really powerful. So, and it's quite interesting because on Thursdays we had Nathesha Ashburn, and she's our mental health specialist, and she spoke about these exact things about putting a structure when it comes to anxiety, to get, do some exercise, start relating to people, get those friendships up, and prayer. She literally touched on those exact same points. So it's like these things are starting to be echoed out throughout the whole Breakfast Show, listeners. I don't know if you're catching that. All right. So those were the challenges that you faced, right? Okay, so we're going to get ready to go for a quick timeout, guys, and we're going to find out about the mindset of Ken and the kind of things that he did to make things work. Okay, he's given us a few tips already, so let's make sure we're noting them down, and we'll be right back with your Breakfast Show right after this. All right, guys, this is your Breakfast Show, and it's all happening here as it is a Tuesday, and it's the pursuit of success. And we have with us Ken Okoarofo from the Humble Penny joining us, literally showing us some wonderful insights to how his organizations navigated the pandemic. All right, so obviously we want to get straight back into it. All right, and Ken.
Hey.
Yep. So bro, you told us about the challenges you faced. Okay, which were overwhelm, lack of structure. Okay, so you had to really put that acronym that you showed us there, ESDA, to eliminate, systematize, delegate, and automate things in your organization, which gave you more space. There was that anxiety and fear that a lot of people were going through. The news had no mercy on us during this pandemic if it was to drill fear inside of a person.
Oh yeah.
Ay caramba. And then we had exercise and things like prayer and friendships, and all these things work to help you to overcome these types of challenges. Now, if you could just kind of give us an idea, obviously why these things were happening, the kind of mindset you had to kind of navigate you through, and the outcomes that happened because you put these practices into place.
So I touched on some of these earlier, but let me just make sure they really kind of come across quite clear. So in terms of mindset, I think the very first one was about getting help, because I'm not operating alone, because it's very easy, and I've seen it even with my dad. Even my dad, through many years of his life with trying to run his own business as a small business owner, had this mindset of doing a lot by himself, whereas my mum, on the other hand, had a very different mindset of hiring people and having people help her achieve her own business separately. And I took on that mindset very strongly of my mum, which is really to get help and not operate alone, because you just don't grow by operating alone. Nothing happens. And so getting that help is critical for just helping you essentially work on your business and not in the business. And there's a key difference there. Most people work in their business. So you might have somebody who has a bakery and spend all their time baking cakes, when in actual fact what they should be doing is not spending all their time baking cakes, but working on the business of baking and getting other people to help them with the baking of the cakes. There's quite a key difference there. So getting that help and not operating alone is the key mindset shift. And the outcome that came from that was essentially having less stress and seeing more revenue or more income as a result of having other people doing various bits within what we're doing. The other key mindset shift that I mentioned earlier, and this is this idea of focusing on the prime mover activity. So we all have various activities we have to go through every day or every week even. But if you adopted this mindset of understanding that activities differ, and then there are prime mover activities. By that I mean activities that cause the biggest shift. I'll give you an example. Our key prime mover activity within our business is to create high quality, informative YouTube videos. Why? Because it helps us build knowledge, likability, and trust a lot quicker with our audience. People get to know us a lot quicker, more globally, and people get to like us and trust us a lot quicker. So it's a prime mover activity within our business. So focusing on the prime mover activity, the thing that moves the needle the most, is single-handedly the most important thing to do, because it stops you wasting your time on other things. And what that does from an outcome perspective is that it helps you become more productive, and it helps you generate more results because you see bigger transformations happen because you're focusing on the things that matter. This is where you talked about the 80-20 rule earlier around focusing on the 20% of things that give you 80% of your outcomes. And then I'd say the final mindset shift that kind of underpinned those three challenges I had was going back to the foundational things. So in the hustle and bustle of life, and with many things going on, with so many demands and WhatsApp groups and Clubhouse invite and Instagram, all the things that are going on, and with all those things that are going on, we often ignore and overlook the foundational things in life. And I found that the foundational things are things such as trying to read a book a week. So just going back to the basics, go and get yourself a mini library at home and start reading books. Make it a habit to exercise if you can, 30 minutes a day, if you can, or read, and as well as read 30 minutes a day if you can. Focus on your spiritual life. Don't just think that life is all about operating in a physical dimension and just, believing in your willpower. It's not really about that only. There are other dimensions, such as you're working on your mind, working on the spiritual elements, focusing on friendships. Friendships are absolutely critical because they just help to remind you of what's important, and just helps you also to focus on other almost eternal things, such as generosity and love and kindness and things like that we often just overlook when we are thinking about the economic aspect of our lives, such as us making money or paying our bills and things like that. We very easily overlook those things. So I think that the mindset shift is, if I had to describe it in a sentence, is go back to the foundational things. And the outcome from doing that is that you have so much more peace, you have so much more purpose, you feel like you're waking up to an exciting life, and you feel your life is much more wholesome and much more complete. And it's not just shallow and
rigorous,
empty and rigid. So
wow.
So yeah, those would be the key mindset things that I'd mention.
Fantastic. That's absolutely amazing. So guys, so some of the notes I've been making here, so look at your prime mover activities, because all your activities differ, and I think we've all fallen into this trap that we're doing all these little things that we didn't need, and those little things even make you end up doing things that have nothing to do with your work or with your business. They could be more like a distraction. So what Ken is saying with us, focus on the prime mover activities and the activity that brings the most difference in what you're doing. And with me, in my industry, in my work, it's all about getting the shows on, getting virtual shows on, getting those appointments on, which make phone calls really important. For you, dear listener, it might be something else, it might be something different. So take time out to look into your industry or your hustle or what you're doing or your work, and find out what your prime mover activity that brings the best result back is in what you're working on, so you don't waste time on other things. Go back to the foundation, so the foundational things, the basic things. So what Ken said is about reading a book a week. I'm not much of a reader. I usually do audiobooks, but I do push as well to read books as well, but I'm not that type of person. So if you are into books, that's great, start getting into them, or do audiobooks. It's very useful. And other principal things like taking care of your mind, spirituality, friendships, so we can cultivate things like generosity, love and kindness, so that we can really enjoy this journey, isn't it, Ken? Because
absolutely.
It's because sometimes when it becomes too rigorous and heavy, it's because we've got an imbalance. Would you agree?
Yeah, we actually have to relearn how to live well. That's actually a core mindset shift. It's actually learning what living well means. It's because obviously we all have to earn a living and, all of those things. Those are all great things, but if one's not careful, it's easy to not enjoy life as well. And And enjoyment doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, I'm gonna go and splurge and spend money and go to a shopping center and buy like bags and shoes and jewelry and a new watch and some clothes. It doesn't have to be that. It could be you saying to yourself, well, actually, I'm gonna move away from spending money on fizzy drinks, and I'm going to save that money and buy myself a nice bottle of wine, so that on a Friday night I can watch a movie with my partner. Like it's how you define it. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're having to do what everybody else is doing for you to feel like you're enjoying and living life.
Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. All right, and just briefly, we're just going to move into a very quick Q&A, okay? So we have a question here from Celine Green, okay, and she asked the question, where are we? She says, question, I need to create a system for my finances. Wait. Question, I'm so used to writing down my to-do list / tasks, and I find it hard to keep it all on a computer. What's a good way to transition to keep my tasks digitally?
So I'll tell you what I do. So I write down my tasks initially on a simple planner, which is a hard copy planner. And then what I do, so every week I have 15 tasks. 3 a day for 5 working days.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Those 3 things per day, I then estimate how long each one would take. So this might take half an hour, that might take 2 hours, that might take 3 hours. I then move to my Google Calendar, where I make those tasks into an appointment. Each task is an appointment for myself to show up at my appointed time. I then show up at those designated times and then make the tasks happen. So essentially, I'm moving my physical tasks into a digital format by having them on my Google Calendar. And at the same time, I'm almost killing 2 birds with 1 stone, because they are diarized appointments, which means if someone says to me, hey Ken, do you want to have a WhatsApp or have a Zoom or have a whatever, in that time I say no, because I've got an appointment to carry out this specific task at that specific time. It's almost like killing two birds with 1 stone.
Fantastic, that's perfect. And that's something that she can introduce going forward, isn't it?
Yeah. And then, Google Calendar is free. It syncs to all your devices, and you can see it wherever you are. You can even color code them, and however you want.
If you like that kind of thing, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. And then we have another question here from Adam K. He says, Ken, if you could choose one decision you made that contributed to success in your business, what would it be? Like the turning point, he says.
I would say creating an aspect of our business that generates an income on a recurring basis. Okay. Rather than on a one-off basis. So what this COVID and this last year has really shown us is that if you have an element of your business that has recurring revenue, it has the potential to be game-changing, and it's also more scalable. So rather than saying, okay, I provide a product or a service and you pay me for it, how about if I create a one-to-many offering? So an offering that many people access by paying a monthly recurring fee for. And by doing that, you're not the unit cost of every person who joins that particular product or service is decreased the more people join. Is that making some sense?
That's yeah, absolutely. So if you provided a service that started off at like £20 a month, obviously as it starts to scale and get bigger, that can lower incrementally, and obviously because of the masses as well, it's bringing in that extra revenue when it all comes together.
Yeah, so your revenue keeps going up, but because people are accessing the same offering online, but the actual cost of creating that offering decreases over time. So your margins, your profits actually increase as a result of that. So I'd say that would be the one thing we did, was to really create a recurring offering online that anyone from anywhere in the world can access.
All right, there you go, Adam K. I hope that helps you there. We have one here from Fatima in Toulouse who says, I find it easy to let other people do certain things. However, some people are difficult to manage, and it's difficult to have them make the things in time. So it's better if I do it myself. Is it also being a control freak?
Do you know what it is? I think we have to trust people, good people who are good at what they're doing to deliver and keep them accountable to deliver those things. So if I had a meeting with someone today and said, hey, look, would love X, Y, or Z, please deliver by Friday, because there's a knock-on effect with it not being delivered. It's all about communicating with that person, maybe in 2 days or something, just to say, hey, just a light reminder, we have this thing due on Friday, just to make sure that we're both on the same page. I find that a lot of not delivering things is down to poor communication, and not making it clear what the expectations are, as well as not having a way in which people are kept accountable. Not talking about micromanaging anybody, because you have to trust them to do what they're doing, but it's about people being kept accountable and communicating various intentions.
So that's another system, isn't it? Like, that's another system to put into place, isn't it?
Yeah, so for example, we use something called Asana, Asana. Asana is free for up to 5 users. You run a team of up to 5 people. And Asana is a good way for you to essentially communicate with your team without ever really needing to speak to them, if you don't want to. Because then you can write you can put a task down, you can tag people, they can write back. It's like, think of it as like group WhatsApp, but much more productive.
Okay.
With everybody kind of knowing what they're doing. You can mark tasks as complete, you can mark tasks as work in progress, stuff like that.
Fantastic. Okay, I hope that answers your question, Fatima from Toulouse. Next up, we have a question here, also from Selena Green. She says, I need to create a system for my finance, and this is the last one, by the way, guys, okay? I need to create a system for my finances. Can the Humble Penny help me to get organized? A system as in looking at my spending, budgeting, and forecasting.
Okay, so the first thing to mention is that you, at the very beginning, you need to, the beginning of building any form of wealth is in spending less than you're making. So a good starting point really is to decide that you're going, for every €1 or £1 or $1 that you make, you are going to keep 10% of it minimum. And that's such an important rule, because if you decide to do that, you start to see more of your own money every month. That's the first thing to mention. A simple budgeting rule is the 50-30-20 rule. 50-30-20 is percentages for how you can split every single pound, dollar, or euro, or whichever currency you've got. So 50% of it should go towards your needs. 30% of what you make should go towards what you classify as wants, and 20% should go towards paying down debt / saving and investing. So if you've got no more debt, at least 20% should go towards your saving and investing for your money to grow. Now, over time, that 50-30-20 rule could then begin to shift, because you might say, well, actually, I don't have that many wants in my life, so therefore that 30% that are allocated to wants should go towards my paying off my debt, or go towards my saving or my investing. So it then becomes a shift in lifestyle. You can then say, well, actually 50% goes towards my needs. I'm now finding that I'm now saving 30% every month and investing, or I'm now saving 40% every month, because I'm managing my lifestyle and cutting down on my wants, driven by managing my desires more effectively. Wow. So you find that there's a greater shift then towards you reducing debt, and obviously by you reducing debt, your net worth increases, because your net worth is the sum of all your assets in value less the sum of all your liabilities in value, is your debts. The more you reduce your debt by paying down your debt, the more your net worth increases, and the more you commit towards saving and investing, which is important, the more you generate a return, and money then works on money. Oof. But notice, none of this would have happened without you at the very core having that belief that what you make should not be spent entirely, which is hard for many people to accept, but it's because the world we're living we've become accustomed to living on debt and on borrowed money. But if you have this core belief that if I make £100, I will not spend £100. In fact, I will not spend 90. I would keep at least 10 to myself because I deserve to keep 10 to myself. If you have that core belief, then you find that you start to create that buffer. That buffer is important because that buffer enables you to seek out opportunities. So when I talk about investing, that's what I mean. It's you saying, well, actually, how do I now make my money grow and work even more for me? Which then really moves on to, when we talk about financial independence, that's then begins to, we start to get introduced to that subject. Which we can talk about later on, perhaps on a different time.
Absolutely.
But I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, bro, you just offloaded, man. It's just blessings sprinkling on us, man. Golden nuggets, literally just falling on us, and we receive it with joy and gladness. So I hope that answered your I know it abundantly asked your question. We've got so much there, and it really is a journey, isn't it, Ken? We have to because the thing about it is we're so accustomed to just existing, earning a living, squandering in it, but we never had this idea of this place that I want. People wish for financial freedom, people wish for things or a certain quality of life, but to tangibly make those sacrifices, make those efforts on purpose to lead to that place, that those things are not really taught to us in school or sometimes even from our relatives or family members, so Ken, thank you so much. Ken, thank you.
Thank you for having me. Really, really, really appreciate it, and I hope that anyone who listened should just be aware that any form of financial freedom and financial independence is a choice. It's a choice, really. It's for them to decide if it's something that they want to pursue, because not everybody makes that choice, and obviously choices have implications, which include deferring gratification, which include not living just for the moment, but really thinking a lot about the future and what you want that future to look like. So I hope that's useful.
This is deep, brother. Thank you so much for all of that today. And I know that everybody's going to literally digest all of this and take action. If you want to receive more from Ken and his wife, feel free to go into YouTube and literally just search The Humble Penny. Literally, you'll see him. He's got that lovely big smile, and his wife is usually by his side, like look like, yeah, we got something for you. All right, and literally just go to YouTube, search The Humble Penny, and you'll see all these material come up. So much material. I was watching the more recent one recently, and your wife said something, Ken. You said like this. You was like this, bars. And I was like, I couldn't help that was a Hercules word, because I've started saying that as well. Like Hercules. Whenever someone says something that really like hits the point, you're like, bars. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, so look, check out The Humble Penny on YouTube, guys. You're really going to enjoy it, and more than anything, it'll prompt you to take action. And obviously, like Ken said, we have to decide to take that action. All right, guys, and guess what? Next week is going to be our third Tuesday with Ken, and we're going to be discussing business, family, and relationships. This is such a huge thing, because one thing I like about you, Ken, is that whenever you do your work, I always see your wife with you. I see your wife getting involved in the editing and all that kind of stuff, and that's what makes you trustworthy for me personally. That's what caught my attention about you initially. Yeah, because like you kind of were doing it together. That's what, if you was just you by yourself, maybe I wouldn't have do you know what I mean, glued on as much, but you have those principles behind you, and it's just absolutely amazing. So I know that in itself, relationships with family and business is a whole nother ball game, a whole nother adventure, a whole nother conversation. It's a whole thing, right? So guys, we're gonna touch on that next week Tuesday, so do not miss it, because it's gonna help you, it's gonna help me, all right, it's gonna help all of us, and we really want to make sure we take advantage of that. So thanks once again, Ken, for being with us today.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I should mention before I run, this year it's my 10-year wedding anniversary with my wife. So we're we're going to be.
Congratulations!
This topic next week is going to be very interesting. So do make sure you show up for that.
Don't miss it, guys. All right, and I just want to thank Hugo, Captain Hugo, our Brazilian Clark Kent, the man of sound today. Thank you for doing a great job today, Captain Hugo.
Thank you, Hugo.
And I want to thank you, dear listeners. Let me just read some of these very quickly. Just some of these. Thank you, Ken. I will communicate more, maybe differently. That's from Fatima. Julie says, please repeat on Friday. We will. Ken needs to come back. Okay, Diamonds Nuggets. Thank you, Ken. Okay, everyone's excited. Okay, guys, and those of you who are hawker stalking, I hope you enjoyed the show as well. Guys, let's keep strong. Let's stay robust. Tomorrow, we've got a dynamic duo, Health, Wellness, and Success. Ronald Petrina joining us, where we're going to continue the book review of what's it called? Bulletproof Dating. Bulletproof Dating. Oh my gosh, we're going into the love theme now, isn't it? Okay, we're going to continue our book review, our success book on bulletproof dating, and we're going to have an extensive wellness tip from our over 50 years experience in nutrition and wellness, Ronald. It's going to be an epic Wednesday, and we're going to have Nafisha back on Thursday. It's all going on, guys. It's all going on. This is your breakfast show. It's for you. It's for you. Look, I just wish you all a fantastic Tuesday, and we're back tomorrow from 6:30. Take care, stay robust, and God bless. Ciao for now.
You've been listening to The Breakfast Show with Robert Ashite.